Hello there, it's New Zealand naturopath Eric Baker, author of Candida Crusher, and I'm the formulator of a range of products called Candida. Thanks for checking out my video. I've got a question here from one of my subscribers, a nice guy called Angelo Macrodaris, which is a Greek name for all you people who don't understand Greek names. Angelo has got a question here. Hello Eric, I was wanting to know if you could make a video about what to do if you do have any of these food intolerance reactions due to a lack of enzymes or beneficial bacteria. For example, I want to adopt a vegan lifestyle but can't because anytime I eat a grain my skin flares up. Does this happen more so because of lack of enzymes or because you're feeding Candida? And if it's just a lack of enzymes, should you just continue eating these foods in small amounts to slowly get your digestion used to it? Or should you just avoid it completely until you can stomach it without any issues at all? Sorry about this lengthy question, Angelo. Well, Angelo, let's talk about this problem. Lots of people email me with similar kind of questions. I can't tolerate this food. I've got an allergy towards this food. So let's get one thing clear right from the start. Okay, there's a big difference between a food allergy and a food intolerance, and a lot of people get these two animals confused. They think that a tiger is a leopard and a leopard is a lion, and everyone gets these big cats confused, you know. But when you look a little bit deeper into the animal and you see the environment it lives in, if you very carefully observe the animal, you'll understand that they're entirely different creatures. Okay, what's tigers got to do and lions got to do with food allergies? Well, let's get into it. I'm just being silly there. The point I'm making is, if you read my book, there was a big article I wrote in my book and also on my blog site, yeastinfection.org. I've written quite a few articles on the difference between allergies and intolerances. Okay, allergies, remember, are immune mediated. You need to have an antibody reaction that sets up in the body to counter a response of an antigen. So an antigen is anything that comes into the body that's perceived as foreign by the body's immune system. So it's going to cause a problem. We've got a big problem in the world at the moment with global terrorism. So this is almost like an antibody response, isn't it? And people go a bit crazy with, with ISIS. And unfortunately, a lot of really nice Muslim people are getting attacked and affected really bad by citizens, by law-abiding people who don't understand the difference. Now, your immune system is a little bit like that too. It can get also confused. It can get trigger happy. It can start blaming, foods when foods aren't really the fault. I remember seeing on the news a report about a guy, a dark-skinned man, and he was taking a device out of his bag. I think it was an iPod with a red cable on it, or headphones. In fact, I think he was a medical student. And probably because of his race, his colour, and the fact that he pulled a device out of a bag, a woman immediately contacted the police and said, "Oh my God, it's a guy with a bomb, a bomb, a bomb." People go nuts when you use the word bomb now, Don't use it at airports, by the way. It doesn't go down too well. So anyway, this poor guy got harassed by the cops because they thought he had an explosive device, when in fact it was a flippin' headphones with an iPhone. Now, your immune system can get so trigger happy and so on red alert that it can react to tons of stuff, okay? So what we've got to do is calm the immune system right down. That's going to stop a lot of untoward reactions in the body. Many people have an overexpression of their immune response. This isn't spoken a lot of or written a lot, but it's my clinical experience has shown me this through my understanding of cortisol and the adrenals and the response of this powerful hormone and how it affects the immune system. People with high stress are much more prone to getting inappropriate reactions than people who are more chilled and more calm. So if you suffer with higher cortisol levels, you're more likely to have inappropriate immune reactions to foods that you may not previously have had. Now, this can be happening when you're going through a crappy relationship breakdown or something, or, your mother-in-law's annoying you again. I'm always talking about mother-in-law. My mother-in-law's nice, by the way. But you may have one of those mother-in-law from hell, We don't call them the in-laws, we call them the outlaws. So if you've got a family member that's really annoying the hell out of you, have a good look at yourself to see if you're inappropriately reacting to foods or things in your environment, okay? It could be your cortisol upregulating your immune response, creating this crazy reaction. So, Angelo, I don't know if you've got crazy neighbours or crazy girlfriend, or I don't know what your situation is. So check that out first. All right, that's the upregulation. And with continued stress, you can have a downregulation of immune response, and that can also cause untoward reactions. So many people, excuse me, suffer from some kind of stress, can have a crazy reaction. Immune mediated are the allergies. Intolerances are usually enzyme mediated. And I find this will have to do with some kind of a problem with your pancreas. Is a very common organ that will create food intolerances. So this is when you can't tolerate a certain kind of food, or it sits there and you get bloating and gas and a heavy feeling and weird bowels, and you could get skin reactions. You're much more likely to have a very powerful reaction when it's immune mediated as opposed to an intolerance. In my opinion, food intolerance reactions are nowhere near as strong as the immune mediated food allergies. Food allergies come in two types of animals, okay? We've got the immediate one, the cheetah, pretty fast animal, and then we've got the slow one, maybe the lion, okay? Cheetahs are real quick, 177 kilometers, or 170, that's crazy what I'm talking about. Maybe, 60 miles per hour? They're a very world's fastest land animal. Now, type 1 response, IgE, or type 1 anaphylactic is like a cheetah. It goes, bang, gangbusters, okay? You can have a person with a very powerful allergic response to peanut, for example, or shellfish. Look, I had a patient, a guy, who found out that he had a problem with fish when he walked past a shop selling fresh fish, and he ended up waking up in hospital. He had an anaphylactic shock from breathing in the fish. I had a woman bring me this girl, 14-year-old patient, and every time she went shopping, she'd come home, she'd break out in hives. She couldn't work out why. Well, apparently what we worked out was when she walked in past the dairy aisle, past, those big refrigerators with milk, and the mum would open up that, and then usually what happened is about 5 minutes later, the girl started to get itchiness. So what I had to do is a bit of investigation work to find out at what time of the shop did this occur, and I worked out it was 5 or 10 minutes after the shop started that the itchiness started, and it was the flippin' milk aisle. And how we proved it was I got her to go home and to open up a cap of a milk bottle and take a couple of deep inhalations of it. And absolutely right, I was bang on. Within 10 minutes, she was scratching herself all over, and then within about 2 or 3 hours, she had hives on her body. That's how powerful an immune reaction can be. It can be super powerful. It is an extreme case, but remember, a lot of people are not like that girl. They may be 2% or 5 or 10% that reaction. Okay, so. And food intolerances don't generally have such extreme, powerful type 1 allergic responses. They're usually more delayed. I find them more insidious. They can be skin related. Often there's a huge element of fatigue with the food intolerance. A person will get all sorts of gut problems with intolerances. There's no doubt about it. Allergies, diarrhea is a classic. Lactose intolerance, diarrhea, typical. So again, that's a problem where the body hasn't got the enzyme lactase to break the milk sugar lactose down. Nothing to do with allergies. Okay, it's a problem with the deficiency with an enzyme. See how we talked enzyme again? So we talked about the cheetah. Now, if you've got a lion tends to be a lot slower in its approach. Okay, it's going to sneak up on the prey. Now, it may follow a prey around for a day or even 2 days and weaken it and then attack. Now that's what a type 3 response is. IgG4, we call it, number 4. So that's a delayed response. Okay, now a delayed response, in my opinion, can occur quite often with multiple triggers coming into the diet. It could be 2 or 3 things overlapping, of course, just the right conditions, and then the person may get a headache 3 or 4 days after consuming the food. They may get joint pain, they may get skin rashes, something will happen. IgG reactions tend to be more acquired, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think out there or what other experts will tell you or whatever, but I believe that IgE responses tend to be more inherited, IgG more acquired. So most people, when they get a food allergy report back and it's full of type 3 responses, IgG, my first question is, did you take an antibiotic? Yes, I did, sir. I took an antibiotic. I very commonly see an association between wiping out beneficial bacteria and elevated IgG response. Right, now I didn't even answer your question, Angelo. What was your question again? Let's have a look here. What do I do? You talked about here the food intolerance reaction due to lack of enzymes or beneficial bacteria. Okay, so first thing you've got to work out, do you have an allergy or an intolerance? Because we haven't even established that yet. I don't tend to waste my time with patients anymore doing FAPs or food allergy profiles. I prefer to cut to the chase and do the stool test and get the bacteria right first. And I find if I can get the bugs right and get the enzymes right, the rest takes care of itself. So taking foods out of the diet is a stupid thing to do. Or do a food allergy test and let's just take this and that out and this and that. That's like paint by numbers. People think if they take all the foods out of their diet that show high on a panel, they're going to feel better. But they never do. They never do. They're only $300 poorer, and they're still no closer towards getting a resolution, of the cause of the problem. The foods didn't cause the allergy. Something else caused it. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a piece of paper, and I want you to write down all the food you eat, Angela. Okay? So just get a piece of A4 paper, make a column, write down the foods. All the foods. Milk, butter, eggs, I don't know, you might eat a certain type of bread. You could be eating all sorts of foods. Okay, so write them all down. Tomatoes, celery, lettuce, whatever you eat. Not just the foods that you make, the compound foods that you cook for yourself, but the ingredients in those foods. And then what I want you to try and establish is have 3 columns next to that, and then write down a column called mild, a column called moderate, and a column called severe, or strong. Mild, moderate, strong. Now, strong's 3, the moderate's 2, and the mild is 1. Each food, I want you to write down your desire or wanting that particular food. Some foods will be 3. Steak could be 3, because you're a guy. I mean, guys like steak, Beer might be a 1 or a 2. You know what I mean? So write all of these foods down. And then what we want to do is total up. On the other end, we want to total up and see what your totals are. Try and work out what foods come back to the highest ranking of 3. So get maybe one of these things. See if I've got it here. Here it is. Get one of these highlight pens and just highlight each food that comes back with a 3. So you could have 20 foods with you've got quite a good desire for. Now the first thing you do when you see the food is you tick a box, 1, 2, 3. You don't think about it, you tick. You immediately tick that box. Okay, so we want to work out what the 3s are. The 3s are the foods most likely to cause you the problem. The 2s have got a moderate ability to cause the problem, and the 1s have got a much lesser ability. I've always found this to be true with people, and I don't know why, but it's just my experience has shown me that we're always drawn towards the stuff that really serves us, not really, a good deal when it comes to digestion. So be careful, Angelo. Work out the grade 3s, and then out of those grade 3s, I want you to systematically go through them and try and work out which food potentially is causing you the problem. So try and eliminate some of those foods or have them far less frequently. Move the 3s to the 2s and move the 1s to the 2s. So the foods you like the least, try and move them up a little bit up the chain. Eat them more often. Okay? The 3s, move them down the chain. Eat them less frequently. Makes sense, doesn't it? And then what we're going to do at the same time is keep an eye on the bowel motions. This is a guide. Chew your food properly. Keep an eye on gas, bloating, keep an eye on energy, keep an eye on a whole bunch of different things. So analyze yourself to see how you feel. But most importantly, watch the stool every day. Is it well formed? Is it coming out easy? Does it smell like a death trap when you've been to the bathroom, or is it not too bad? Healthy stool should have minimal odor, easy elimination. You should feel very satisfied after a full elimination. You should be passing out quite a lot of stool every day. 1 or 2 pieces is acceptable. When it's all sheep pellets or like cow pats, you've got a problem. So the stool is a good indication often of the bacteria, and will tell you often what the colon is doing. If you're going to find undigested food particles, it's going to tell you that the small intestine is not working properly. If you're going to find a lot of looseness, it's often telling you that you've often got parasites or bad bacteria. So I'm going to do some videos coming up specifically on stool, odor, texture, all those sorts of things. It's a pretty shitty topic, I know, but I think people need to hear this. It's very important to understand that. So keep an eye on the stool. So make some changes. In time, I believe you'll be able to go back and eat all the foods that you like to eat. I've told people many times I don't buy into the gluten. That gluten's like radioactive waste. We shouldn't eat it and everyone will die, and we all need to eat large amounts of meat and fat, which will save us. I think it's a load of crap. I really don't believe it. Most people do like a bit of gluten in their diet. and strictly avoiding foods for the sake of trends or because you read it on Huffington Post or some crap like this, it doesn't mean to say you're going to get better at all. It could mean that you're going to piss off people around you and that you'll end up becoming the food police yourself. So just be careful, okay? Small amounts of gluten, in my opinion, for most people is totally acceptable. But eating 5 pieces of bread a day is not a good idea either. It's all about balance and moderation and common sense. That's all it is, okay? In time, you'll be able to eat that grain. Now, you mentioned here, anytime I eat a grain, my skin flares up. Cool. So what we're going to do now is we're going to write all the grains down that you eat, and then we're going to grade them, 1, 2, 3, as I mentioned. And then you're going to eat the grains. With a 1 grade, you're going to shift them up to 2, and the 3s you're going to move down to 2 and maybe eventually 1. The stronger the desire for the food, the more you need to put it on the back foot. The weaker the desire for that grain, the higher you've got to push it up. I also want you to include more grains into your diet, Angelo, that you previously haven't been eating, okay? Maybe you haven't had buckwheat before. Let's put a bit of that into the diet. Now, once you've done all this, if you still have issues, I want you to start including some digestive enzymes into your diet and probiotics. Give my Candida Restore a go, Angelo. It's got 7 different enzymes in it and 6 different probiotics, and it was designed for people just like this with gut issues. Okay, it's going to help to stimulate the breakdown of various carbohydrates, and it's going to increase the production of various kinds of bacteria that allow the proper fermentation of the breakdown products and a good stool with minimal gas and bloating. Whew, that was a long video. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an insight into allergies and intolerances, into my grading system, how I like to work with people, and give it a try. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for that question, Angelo.